Hey, Good Sam, this is Jed.
And Laurel.
And we are really excited just to connect with you and to share a little bit of what's happening in the life of Good Sam.
Have you ever remodeled or redecorated your house? You talked about it for several years, and you finally do it, and then you start bumping into things because things are moved in different places, and yeah, I don't know if I like that color paint. That's kind of what I feel like we're doing here. We're remodeling Good Sam. We've talked about it for years. We're finally doing something about it, and now, for the rest of this year, we just need to figure out what we like, what we don't like, and kind of get used to it.
Absolutely. It's fun to start things and it's fun to end things, but when you're in the middle, that's where the rub comes in, that's where the questions come in, that's when things kind of miss each other. And so this is why it's so important that we sit down every now and again and we have these conversations about where Good Sam is and where Good Sam is going and why we are heading in the direction that we're heading in. One of the things that's changing, one of the things that we're exploring is our leadership model. This is the foundation of the church. It's how we make decisions. Our leadership team has 5 priorities. The first priority is to monitor the overall health of the church. And so our leadership team is always asking, how is Good Sam doing spiritually? How is Good Sam doing financially? How is Good Sam doing emotionally? How are we doing?
And the second responsibility that we have is to make sure that the senior pastor we hold him accountable. We make sure he's doing what he's supposed to do. We also make sure that the health of his family is good. So we're constantly asking, how's your marriage? How's your wife? How's your son? How are your kids? How are they transitioning to Valley Springs?
The third thing that the leadership team does is they seek God's face and they pray and they identify 2 to 4 spiritual priorities and 2 to 4 strategic priorities.
And then another one is, of course, money. So we're talking about with the staff and the ministry leaders to make sure that we have the right budget in mind, the right goals in mind as far as how to accomplish all of them.
And the last thing that the leadership team does is they step into crisis when it occurs, so that there is a team that is ready to discern what God wants to do in the middle of bumpy seasons. The reason why we're exploring adopting a new leadership team model is so that the church can reach its potential, so that we can be crystal clear on what God is calling us to do. One of the spiritual priorities of the church is that we would be a church where people are finding Christ for the very first time. One of our goals is that 10 people or more would make first-time commitments or recommitments to Christ. The beautiful thing is 5 people this year have said yes to Jesus. 5 people this year have come back to Jesus. 5 people are growing in their faith. And so we are just celebrating the fact that our church is inviting people to come and explore Jesus and that people are saying yes to Jesus. And so we're celebrating the fact that God is changing hearts.
And you know, on that note, these 5 people, we've all been there. We know the struggle they're going through. We know the questions they have. We know the temptations that they're dealing with. And so we need to keep them up in prayer, and I mean hold them up fervently. They need our prayer.
Not only do we need to be praying for these people, but we need to be journeying with them and helping them to understand what it means to follow Jesus. And so the second huge priority of the church is discipleship. How are people following Jesus? How are people becoming more like Jesus? How are people getting to the place where they can disciple other people? The beautiful thing is that our church is at the beginning of shifting our mindset. It used to be that people would come to a church and that they would rely on the pastor to teach them everything that they needed to know about Christ. It was big picture, little picture. It was one generation to the second generation. But we're thinking about discipleship differently. We're thinking that as a church, we need to disciple people who disciple people who disciple people who disciple people. When we get to that 3rd or 4th generation of discipleship, we will know that we're stepping into the role that God has called us to do. We're learning how to do this. We've come a long ways in this thinking, and there's still some journeying to go. So I'm really thankful for where we are, and I'm thankful that we are becoming more passionate as we move forward on this discipleship journey.
So now let's move into the financial update for you. Year to date, we're right on track as we were hoping to be. However, June was our lowest month as far as income goes, but we are still on track. We have some really good news, though. The Hollenbach's family insurance dynamic has changed, and so we're going to be saving at about $500 a month, a little more than that actually, towards their health insurance. Now they're going to get better health insurance because of Heidi's employment. And the Hollenbachs have recommended, and the leadership team agreed, that the difference is going to be applied directly to our principal for our mortgage. So I want you to know that we are very conscientious and interested in paying down that mortgage, and so that's our first step in doing that, and so that's exciting for us.
So the only reason that we have budgets and the only reason why we worry about mortgages is because we want to fuel ministry. What I'm really excited about is as we're embracing the fall, as we're looking at all these possibilities, there are a lot of exciting things that are happening. We're excited to see our Awana Carnival that is coming back. We're excited for the launch of Awana, which will be at the beginning of August. We're excited that Wednesday Night Live is going to fire up again. We're also excited that we're beginning to offer baptisms, new believer classes. We're beginning to build our membership class again. And so these are really exciting things that just demonstrate that while there's a lot of reconstruction, there's a lot of reorganization, there's a lot of change, the furniture is being moved around, the most important things are happening. And it demonstrates that lives are being changed. And so we're really thankful that you're leaning into this and that you're supporting this and that many of these are your ideas that we're trying to follow up and catch up on. So thanks for being a church that's not afraid of change, that's embracing it and leaning into the future.
So let's talk now about communication. How much communication, how's the communication, where is it, and all of that good stuff. Well, every week, Good Sam sends you an email. And every week, Pastor Jed has a short, under 5-minute video that talks about what is happening that week. And those are really important for you to read. If you want to be involved with what's going on, if you want to know, who that new guy is or what the heck is going on over there, read those emails, watch those videos, and you're going to be informed. They're short, they're fun, they're quick to the point. Going forward on Sunday, August 29th, is going to be our next congregational meeting. Kind of a town hall approach. We don't have any heavy business to talk about. What I want is for you to meet the leadership team again. You can be reminded of who we are and what our role is. But more importantly, we want to talk to you about our budget process for next year, as well as the year after that and the year after that. And tell you what, how about if you think about what would you like to see Good Sam be like in 10 years? Who would Good Sam be serving? How would they be serving? And so if you can think of that, that'll help us think about 2022's budget, because they kind of go together.
So when we're in the middle of a remodel, when we're in the middle of a project, there's always going to be lots of thoughts. There's always going to be lots of questions. Things aren't going to roll out as smoothly as you want. And that's the time where you ask questions. That's the time that we fight for clarity. That's the time where we put everything on the table. I just love it that our leadership team, our leaders, are open for questions and conversations. And that's also how we learn. And so we just want to remind you, we're here to serve you. We're here to serve this church. We're here to serve God. And so please, let's keep the conversation going. We'll talk to you soon. Blessings.